ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I want to welcome all the devotees for kindly joining in our continued session on the discussion of the pastime of Gajendra from the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have been discussing the concluding verses of the first chapter, the whole of second chapter, and now we have started the prayers of Gajendra in the third chapter of the 8th canto. Till now we have finished the first verse and the second verse of this text or this chapter, and very specifically we discussed in great detail the second text, and in the third text we started off with the first phrase. That is what we wrapped up yesterday. For those who were present yesterday, we mentioned how 7 phrases have been used for the Supreme Lord in the third verse, Canto 8, Chapter 3, Text 3. Yasmin idam yataschedam yenedam ya idam swayam yosmat parasmat cha paraha tam prapadhye swayam bhuvam. So 7 adjective phrases have been used for the Supreme Lord. And we also briefly described them yesterday. I'll quickly repeat them again for those who are joining for the first time today, and then we will continue with our discussion. The first phrase in the glorification of the Supreme Lord was Yasmin idam. So point to be noted is the word idam, idam, idam has been used many times. Like when you break the Sanskrit, which is called as the Sandhi Viched. So Sandhi means to combine and Viched means to break. Ched, Viched, like that. So Sandhi Viched. So by breaking, it comes out as Yasmin idam yata cha idam yena idam ya idam swayam ya asmat parasmat cha paraha tam prapadhye swayam bhuvam. So you see the word idam has been used many times. Yasmin idam, yatascha idam, yena idam, ya idam, like that. So this actually means an important thing. The word idam that has been used refers to the creation, the material world that we see. Very, very beautiful creation that the Lord has orchestrated and He's manifested with so much wonder. There is such geometrical and such artistic wonder that we see. We see so many times people talk about the sunset point and the sunrise point. People go onto the ocean shore to even click pictures of the reddish hue of the sky at sunrise or sunset. And they enjoy hearing the sound of the ocean and walking in the sand and seeing groups of birds fly in the air. breeze. None of this is man-made. Man cannot make all of this. So this idam that has been used so many times refers to the material world, this beautiful, wonderful, attractive material creation that the Lord has manifested. So basically the purpose of saying this idam again and again, and also the purpose of this prayer is twofold. One, to glorify the opulence of the material world, ultimately glorify the Supreme Lord, and second, beg for his protection. In fact, in this context, Srila Sridhar Swami, the original commentator on the Bhagavatam, he says that the third chapter, this Gajendra Stuti chapter, is the conversation that Gajendra is having with the Supreme Lord. He says that Gajendra is giving different reasons, and the Supreme Lord is reciprocating and asking different questions in the heart, which Gajendra is again clarifying and answering and offering his heart. So that's how the verses are building. So it's basically like the Supreme Lord is taking a transcendental interview to see if Gajendra really wants him. And when Gajendra fulfills the criteria, the Supreme Lord saves him. Also, Sridhar Swami says that this stuti has been chanted in the past life, but chanting then and chanting now, there is a difference. He says previously when it was chanted in his past life, Gajendra chanted it many, many times to save himself from material existence. But this time it appears that he is praying to the Supreme Lord to save himself from the crocodile. But that is the external eyewash. Sridhar Swami is saying previous life he chanted this to have liberation from material existence. And because he got purified by that chanting, this life he is chanting to protect the crocodile, to save the crocodile. So externally Gajendra is asking protection for himself, but actually he's begging the Lord to protect the crocodile. Like that. Because the crocodile, it's interesting that his mouth is holding the feet of Gajendra. So Gajendra with his feet he cannot bow down, but at least through his mouth he can chant. But the crocodile cannot even do that because his mouth is engaged. So therefore, when someone prays for us, some senior devotee with lot of bhakti shakti prays on our behalf, then we, like crocodiles, we have some hope. Therefore, the Supreme Lord protected Gajendra by protecting the crocodile first. He liberated the crocodile first. It's an interesting thing. So Gajendra protected himself, Janma Sarthaka Kari, and then now he is doing Para Upakara. Also, Sridhar Swami is saying that this whole stuti is used in the Chaturtha Vibhakti, which means everything is Namaha. He's like offering obeisances, like Namaha Shantaya, Ghoraya, Mudhaya. You see, when you have to bow down to Krishna, you say Krishnaya Namaha, Madhusudanaya Namaha, Vamanaya Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha. So the Aya usage has been used, especially in the male gender. So here the whole stuti goes like that. Even in the first verse of the Gajendra Stuti, we say Bhagavate, Purushaya, Adi Bijaya, Pareshaya, like that. And ahead also, as I was mentioning, Shantaya, Ghoraya, Mudhaya, Gunadharmine, Nirvisheshaya, Samyaya. So like that. So Sridhar Swami is saying this whole stuti is the epitome of glorification and getting purification by offering obeisances. So he is chanting the holy name, the glories of the Supreme Lord. There is Nam through the tongue, and there is offering obeisances, which is Pranam. So Nam and Pranam are the two Vaishishthya, the main speciality of this Gajendra Stuti. Even the Bhagavatam, the last verse says that Pranamu Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Param Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam. That just chant the holy name and offer obeisances. By doing this, all the sins will be destroyed, all the suffering will be lost. So that explosion of the conclusion of the Bhagavatam is the Gajendra Stuti. So Gajendra is constantly offering glorification and offering obeisances. King Kulashekara in the Mukundamala says, Shriman Nama Prochya Narayanakyam Kena Prapur Vanchitam Prapinopi Hana Purvam Vak Pravritta Natasmim Stena Praptam Garbhavasadi Dukkham. Very beautiful verse. He says, Shriman Nama Prochya Narayana Akhyam. The name Narayana, the name of the Supreme Lord, Kena Prapuhu Vanchitam Papinopi. Even if someone is papi, even if someone is very sinful, who is that person? Kena Prapuhu Vanchitam. Whose desires, Vancha means desires, whose desires have not been fulfilled. Even if he is sinful, if he says Narayana, he calls out to the name of the Lord. Who is that person, even if he is sinful, who has not got his desires fulfilled? You see, Dhruva Maharaj went with material desires, still the Supreme Lord protected him. Prahlad Maharaj went without material desires, and the Lord protected him. The Lord protects and fulfills the material desires in such a way that the person will never ask for it again. When someone goes to ask for $10, the Supreme Lord gives $100, which includes the $10, in such a way that the person will never ask for $10 again. So Dhruva Maharaj asked for something very insignificant, and the Supreme Lord fulfilled by giving himself. Kachan vichinvan api divya ratnam swamin kritarthosmi varam nayache. Dhruva Maharaj says, my Lord, I came searching for broken pieces of glass in this forest, and I have found a very self-effulgent diamond. So Kulashekara is saying here, Hana purvam vak pravritta tasmins. However, if someone doesn't put this habit of offering obeisances and chanting the holy name, what happens? Tena praptam garbha vasa adi dukkham. One gets the dukkha, the suffering of garbha vasa adi. Adi means etc. And garbha vasa means staying in the mother's womb. So Kulashekara basically is saying, who is that sinful person who has, not got his desires fulfilled by calling out to the names of the Lord? But because we have not used our tongue and our body in offering obeisances and chanting the holy name, we have suffered so many miseries by transmigrating from one womb to another. So Sridhar Swami is saying that Gajendra, in his stuti, he bows down through his karmana, manasa, vachasa, through mind and through words and through the body. Now how he is doing that? By offering a flower, because that's the best he can do. So with that, let's, what else I wanted to share here? Yes, we were talking about, let me get back to this one. We were talking about Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai. Yes, Yata Eta Chidatmakam. So he's talking about Purushayadi Bijaya verse. And Sridhar Swami says that Gajendra is actually bowing down to who? Purushaya. Purushaya means he who enters this material energy, he who enters Prakriti. And similarly, Adi Bija. Adi Bija means he from whom even Prakriti comes. You see, the Supreme Lord is Purusha. He is the father and Prakriti is the mother. So by the combination of Purusha and Prakriti, Jivas are formed. So babies are coming in this world. Just like the parents combine and the babies come, similarly the Supreme Lord combines with this Prakriti, material nature, and Jivas are coming. But here it's an interesting scenario, because even the mother, which is Prakriti, comes from the father. So that's interesting. The father combines with the mother and gives birth to children. But interestingly, this mother, Prakriti, also comes from the father, Purusha. So that is Purushaya Adi Bijaya. So that was the interesting thing. Yena Chetayate Vishwam. Sridhar Swami says, Gajendra is bowing down to that person. Yena Chetayate Vishwam. That person who's enlivening the whole creation. Everything is dull and dead in this material world. But when the electric current of the Supreme Lord's Spirit Soul manifestation enters, then Chetayate, there is consciousness invoked. So that was as far as text 2 is concerned. Let's get to text 3 and start our discussion for today. Yasmin idam yataschedam yenedam ye idam swayam yosmat parasmat cha paraha tam prapadhye swayam bhuvam. So we mentioned about Yasmin idam, that the Supreme Lord is He in whom all the creations rest. And we gave many examples yesterday, like the dancing of Krishna on the woods of Kaliya. We spoke about Putana's pastime, Krishna opening his mouth but closing his eyes and trying to rub his belly to satisfy and comfort the jivas within. We gave the example of the Mrid Bhakshan Leela, where Mother Yashoda looks into Krishna's mouth and sees the universes. So that is a very wonderful thing. And also we mentioned about, this is the reason why the Supreme Lord is called Jananivas. All the jivas live in him, and he as the super soul lives in them. So this is interesting. In this world, when an expert engineer, or let's say an interesting scientist, he designs something in this world, he has his creation and he's out of his creation. So the creator is living outside the creation. So that is how it is. Krishna creates this world and he lives in Golok. But the interesting thing is, with his creation, the creator also enters the creation. So that is beautiful. Like that. So everything lives in him, but he also lives in them as super soul. So that is Jananivasa. Yasmin idam. Everything rests in him. Now, please focus your attention on the second phrase. The second phrase is Yatah cha idam. So Yatah cha idam means that personality, Sri Krishna, from whom everything comes. So Yasmin idam means the whole creation rests in him, but Yatah cha idam means the whole creation comes from him. So this is interesting. So how it comes from him? Well, everything in this world, you see, it is maintained very wonderfully by the rising and setting of the sun and the moon. They are maintaining everything. The crops get nourished by the sunlight. The crops get juicy nourishment by the moonbeams. And we see everybody, the whole creation, right from the birds to the humans to everyone, their life energy is sustained by the sun and the moon. So we may have some pride that I am making this, I am making that. Actually, we are not making anything. We are taking things from others, that is from Krishna, and we are calling it ours. Like, for example, when I was growing up, we used to have a very interesting joke. That the joke was 4 personalities went to God. One Japanese person went to God, and at the same time in the same room, there was a German fellow who was with God, and there was a Swiss citizen who was with God, and ultimately there was an Indian also. So God asked all of them, when you were in this human form, I gave you this human birth. What did you do in that birth? So the Japanese immediately opened up all his products and he said, oh, I made all these electronics. This one human form that you gave me, God, living in Japan, I made all these electronic things. So God was very happy. Then he looked at the German and he said, what did you do? The German opened up his garage and the showroom, and he showed all the cars that he designed. So God was very impressed. Then God asked the Swiss citizen, what did you do? The Swiss citizen said, we gave Lindt chocolate, we gave Rolex watch, we gave the world so many things, including Roger Federer. So God was very happy. Then as the Japanese were displaying their electronics and the German were displaying their cars and the Swiss were displaying their chocolates, God asked the Indian, what did you do in this human form? Indian immediately from his pocket removed something. God said, what are you removing? The Indian said, you wait and watch. He went around the place, and to the Japanese electronics and the German cars and the Swiss chocolates, he stuck the label, made in India. So God was very happy. So in this way, this is what humans do. We take things which have been created by God and we just remodel that and we say, we have made it. But we cannot make anything. Everything comes by the mercy of the sun and the moon. Who can make the sun rise? Who can make the sun set? Who can maintain the stars in the sky? God is so beautifully and wonderfully orchestrating this whole creation. In the Brahma Samhita it is said, Yaccha kshuresha savita sakala grahanam raja samasta suramurti rashesha teja yasya jnaya bhramati sambhrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahma is describing Yat chakshuhu esha savita. Esha savita means this sun, pointing like that, pointing with the finger. Esha savita. This savita, this sun, yes, Yat chakshu esha savita. Chakshu means eyes. This sun is actually the eye of the Supreme Lord. It is described, the sun and the moon are the eyes of the Supreme Lord. So the sun setting and the moon rising, and the moon setting and the sun rising are the two eyes of Krishna He's playing with the Brajvasis and he's winking his eyes. That is the sunrise and sunset. That's how the Brajvasis in this world should think. That Krishna, when he plays with the Brajvasis, he winks his eyes. So the eyes are the sun and the moon. So one is setting and one is rising. So the Brahma Samhita says, Yat Chakshu Esha Savita. This sun is actually the eye of the Supreme Lord. Which sun? Sakala Grahanam Raja. The sun is actually the king of all the planets, all the creation. And Yat Chakshu Esha Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Sura Murti. He is also maintaining the Sura Murti. He is maintaining all the demigods and he is the personification of the demigod. And how much energy does he have? Ashesha Teja. Yachakshuresha Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurtir Ashesha Teja. Teja means power and prowess, but he has Ashesha Teja. When we grow, we have Shesha Teja. Like as children, the kids are running around continuously because in their body you have the Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha. So when the Annamaya Kosha is developing, the kids want to sit and eat everything. They want to put everything in their mouth. But when the Pranamaya Kosha develops, Pran Shakti, they want to run around and they want to exercise their energy. But slowly when they grow up, they get what is called as the Jnanamaya Kosha. Jnanamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha first. Manomaya Kosha is the stage where the mind starts going crazy. So they want a new iWatch, they want a new iPhone, they want a new girlfriend, they want to try everything in this world. That is the Manomaya Kosha, the mind goes crazy. But after some time, they have the Jnanamaya Kosha developed. Jnanamaya Kosha is where they get little steady and stable mentally. And they understand that, oh, these are the responsibilities in life. But then with age, the Jnanamaya Kosha becomes Vijnanamaya Kosha, where they get realization that ultimately, what am I doing in life, etc. They introspect. And the ultimate Kosha development is the Anandamaya Kosha, where the person looks for nothing else in this world except happiness. So the interesting thing is, when we are growing up, we see our body becomes tired. As children, we have a lot of energy. As youth also, we have energy. Even middle age, we have some energy. But then as we get older, the person becomes weaker, especially in kirtans. One time in one temple, we were doing kirtan and I asked one Prabhuji, senior Prabhuji, he said, please join us in kirtan. And he whispered in my ear, gone are those days, now I am an old man. So I just sit in one place and I clap my hands. He said, this is my dancing. I cannot dance like all the other devotees. So the body gets weakened with time. But however, the sun is described as Ashesha Teja. He has unlimited energy. The sun never goes dull. Sometimes we have gloomy weather, but that's not because the sun is giving only 20%. That's because the clouds are covering. Sun is giving 100% all the time. He's not just maintaining one earth. We see in the solar system that we were taught as children, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, etc. The sun is maintaining all of them. But in the Vedic cosmos, we understand from Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala to Bhu, Bhuva, Suva, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyam. 14 planetary systems are maintained by one sun and one moon. So we understand how much Teja the sun has. And because of that sun, everything is being maintained. So everything is ultimately coming by the mercy of the sun and the moon, who are the eyes of the Virata Rupa. Virata Rupa is the universal form, Sri Krishna. So everything is coming because of their mercy. So yatascha idam. Gajendra is saying, these prayers are so deep, you see. He's not simply putting his hand up and saying that, please save me from the crocodile. He's actually crying out, saying, my Lord, who are you? Yasmin idam. You live in everyone and all the universe live in you. Yet at the same time, everything comes from you. You are maintaining everyone. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyatesa characharam. All the stars, all the planets, all the astral bodies even, they're all being maintained by the Supreme Lord. Adhi aksha, as we were previously mentioning, aksha means eyes and adhi means upward. So he who has eyes upward, or let's say his eyes are up and he looks down. So the sun and moon are up there and he's looking down at all of us at all times, maintaining us. So nowadays when you ask someone, especially kids, you ask them, where do you get your food from? They will say the food is coming from the kitchen. So where is it coming into the kitchen? They will say by the mother. That's all. Their vocabulary ends there because they're kids. They don't analyze where it is coming from. But when we really understand, we think about it, when we introspect, we understand that the food may be coming from the kitchen, but in the kitchen it is coming from the store. And the store, it is coming ultimately from the field. Even the milk, it may come from, in India, you see people come and give packets of milk, or you have to go in the morning, you have to open the door and you have to show your vessel and they fill it up. So where is that milkman getting it from? He may bring it from the dairy, but where is it ultimately coming from? It's coming from the cow. Where is the cow getting it from? It is eating grass. Where is the grass coming from? It is coming by the rain. Where is the rain coming from? It is coming by the power of the sun, by which the water from the ocean gets evaporated. Where is the sun coming from? Oh, that is where our vocabulary ends. So ultimately, everything that we see, the flowers that we smell, the grains that we eat, the water that we drink, the milk that we drink, everything ultimately comes from Krishna. So one after another, if you think of the cause and effect, we see there is a cause in this world. Behind that, there is another cause. Behind that, there is another cause. But Krishna is that cause. Who doesn't have a cause? And he is the cause for everything. So everything ultimately comes from him. So it is interesting like that. Also, if we have to go a little deeper into the subject matter, we can see in the third phrase, the word used is yena idam. Everything is coming from him. But how is it coming? That is explained in the third verse. Yena idam means it is personally done by him. Yena. So yasmin idam means everything rests in him and he rests in everything. Yatha cha idam means it comes from him. Yena idam means it is manifested by him. It is done personally by him. So how is that possible? Aham sarvasya prabhava matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. Bhagavad Gita explains that Krishna is actually the source. Everything comes from him. So we know even by the expansions, that different expansions that we study, we talk about the Karana Udakashayi Vishnu. How Karana Udakashayi Vishnu is breathing in and breathing out. And as he's breathing in and breathing out, he's sweating and perspiring. And that is the Karana ocean. He's sleeping on his own perspiration. And also from the pores of his body, so many universes, each universe with so many planets are created. Now that Karana Udakashayi Vishnu also expands as Garbha Udakashayi Vishnu into each of these universes. And then from there is creation and maintenance of that specific universe. Then we see the expansion of Kshira Udakashayi Vishnu, where the Lord enters every atom. He enters the bodies even as Paramatma. In fact, Prabhupada explains in one place that the bodies are trembling and you see the different senses are going haywire. The kidney is going in its own direction, the heart is going in its own direction, and ultimately the body drops and we say the person is no more. Prabhupada explains actually the spirit soul is not the primary doer. The super soul, Paramatma, decides to leave the body. And because he is leaving, he tells the Jiva that actually this body has become useless now. I have created another body for you. Please come. So Paramatma leaves and the Jiva goes behind him saying, my Lord, please don't leave me. You have always been with me. And then the Jiva leaves and we see the body becomes a lump of matter. So then the Paramatma and the Jivatma then travel together and they enter another mother's womb through the father's potency. And in this way it continues. So the Supreme Lord is manifesting. You see, as Karana Udakashayi, Garbha Udakashayi and Kshira Udakashayi. He's personally doing it. Also, the Bhagavatam gives different details, especially you see in the 3rd canto, 26th chapter, you will see Prabhupada talking extensively about Pradhan. Prabhupada talks about Mahat Tattva. Prabhupada talks about Prakriti. He speaks about Purusha, etc. So these 4 words are going back and forth. And many times devotees have even spoken about this, but still it's a confusing matter. What is this Pradhan and what is this Mahat Tattva and what is this Prakriti and who is this Purusha? So in simple words, we can understand that if there is a baby girl who's born, you can call her Pradhan. But that same girl, when she grows up and she becomes a matured girl, let's say she turns 16 or 18, you can call her Mahat Tattva. Finally, then when she gets married, her husband is Purusha, and when she gets pregnant, she is called Prakriti. So what this means is that this whole material nature, in its original unmanifested state, non-differentiated state, as a baby girl. It's called Pradhan. But the same thing when it matures and attains puberty, all the elements, it's capable enough of becoming a mother, but has not been blessed by the Purusha yet. So that is called as Mahat Tattva. But finally, when the Purusha, the Supreme Lord, glances and impregnates with the Jivas, then that state is called Prakriti. So we see these are all technical terms, but in simple words, we can understand that by the glancing of Vishnu, ultimately, Yena Idam, the whole creation takes place. He is breathing heavily, and by his breathing, the universes are formed, but the Jivas who have to live in those universes come from his glance. This is why his glancing is called Amrita Varsha. The Lord is so powerful that by his glancing, he can create, he can create the universes. By his glancing, he can destroy the poison in the body of his friends when they drank the water of the Kaliya, the Yamuna. Kaliya was living in the Yamuna and his friends drank the water and they fell almost dead. So Krishna glanced, Krishna book describes, Krishna just glanced on his friends and immediately all that poison was dissolved and they woke up. The Supreme Lord creates through his glance and he destroys through his glance. And similarly, he maintains everyone through his glance in the form of the sun and the moon, which are his eyes. So this is why he's called Amrita Varsha. His eyes give nectarian glance. So he is the ultimate doer. Yena idam. So this we have to understand. He is the ultimate father of everything that exists. We can give so many varieties of names in this world. This is a bird, this is an animal, this is an aquatic, this is a tree, this is a seed. But ultimately, these are names that we have given. They all ultimately originate and manifest by the grace of Mahavishnu, who is an expansion of Krishna. This is why very authoritatively Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Sarva yoneshu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasam brahma mahat yonir aham bija pradapita. What authority the Supreme Lord is speaking this verse. And I remember when I was living in the Boston temple, this was in 2013, 2014, 2015. At that time, I had this service of cutting fruits and offering it to Krishna. Of course, I was not Brahmin initiated at that time, so I couldn't go onto the altar. But I would do the backup. I would cut it in the kitchen and then give it to the devotee who was supposed to offer. So during that time, they would play one class of Prabhupada for a whole week, same class. So the class, I remember very evidently, one of the classes that while cutting I would hear, where Prabhupada was speaking on this verse, and Prabhupada spoke at great length. And after every 10-15 sentences in his talk, Prabhupada would say, this is why Tasam Brahma Mahat Yonir Aham Bija Pradapita. And when Prabhupada would say that with his grave voice, such thick voice, you could literally feel a thunderbolt in the heart that Krishna is actually the giver of everything. Krishna is saying this. Sarva yoneshu kaunteya. O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Not just humans. Every yoni. Every jiva. Murtaya sambhavanti yaha. It is manifesting in this world. How? Tasam Brahma Mahat Yonir. It is manifesting because Aham Bija Prada Pita. I am the seed giving father. I give it to Prakriti and she creates so many beautiful bodies. So in this way, we can understand how Gajendra is saying. Gajendra is saying, my Lord, everything is in you. Which means this whole situation that the crocodile is catching my feet is also in your purview. And Yatacha Idam, it is coming from you. Which means this situation is also coming from you. Yena Idam, it's not just coming from you. You are the doer, so you are doing it. Therefore, if you're entangling me in this, my Lord, to disentangle me and liberate me is also your duty. At the same time, he says, Yaha idam swayam. My Lord, this is interesting. Yaha idam swayam. What to speak of things coming from you and being done by you, my Lord, this whole creation is you. This whole creation is you. Now, this has to be understood properly because Prabhupada would oftentimes criticize when Mayavadis would say that everything is Brahman. So therefore, you don't have to worship God in the temple. You can just worship the laptop through which I'm speaking, because that is also Brahman. You can worship the pen that I have next to me, because that is also Brahman. So this is not what Gajendra is saying. Gajendra is saying, Yaha idam swayam, my Lord, this whole creation is you yourself. but this has to be understood in the proper terms according to Prabhupada's teachings. Because Prabhupada would really criticize when the Mayavadis would address each other by saying Namo Narayana, Namo Narayanaya, that I bow down to you, who is Narayan, and you bow down to me, who is Narayan. So it's Narayan through me, bowing down to Narayan through you, to you, like that. Very confusing. When His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami Maharaj joined the movement and he read all these statements, he asked Prabhupada, this is so confusing, this Mayavadi philosophy. I'm not able to understand anything. And Prabhupada said, very good. This is not to be understood. This is to be rejected. This is to be rejected. So you don't... I present this in my book so that we understand how to reject it, Prabhupada said. So in this way, why is Gajendra saying that this is you yourself? Now, the interesting thing, I remember when my brother and I, we were growing up, we used to play cricket in the building in Mumbai. And our father was very strict about how much time we give for playing and how much time we give for studies. So we kids were a little notorious in the sense that father would say you study for 2 hours and play for 1 hour. We would study for half an hour and play for 3 hours. That was while growing up, we were very, very mischievous like that. So what we would do is we would go down and play. And sometimes while playing, we get to know, you see, the father's car would get into the building. So at that time, we get to know the car is coming means there is a person inside the car, and that is the father. So we would drop the bat and run home, and then sit at home and try to flip the book so that when father comes, at least he sees that we are studying. But sometimes it used to be interesting because we would be playing in the other side of the building where you don't get to know where the gate is and whether father is coming or no. So when we go home, we have to make sure that we don't know. Has the father come home? We don't know. So while going home, while climbing up the stairs, we try to look at the car park to see if the car is there. If the car is there, means the father is there. So then confirmation. Sometimes the car is also given for, some servicing or something. So the car may come, but the father may come differently also. So that is not a complete confirmation. So you first see the car, then you you don't ring the bell, because if you ring the bell, the father knows that someone's at the door. So you knock the door, and the mother knows that the kid is outside. So she will open the door. And then second check, you see if the shoes are there with the socks. If that is there and you see the bag in the room, then you know the father is here. So what does this mean? So till the time, so we have not seen the father yet, but just by seeing his car, by seeing his shoes, by seeing his bag, we understand the person is there. So similarly, Prabhupada is teaching this world is all just like the bag, the shoes with socks and the car, they are all the paraphernalia of the Father. Similarly, this whole world is the paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. Just like, see, the shoe is not the Father, the car is not the Father, the bag is not the Father, the laptop bag, but they are so intimately connected to the Father that you almost by looking at the shoe, you say the Father is here, right? So similarly, by seeing that, we understand that Gajendra is saying, Ya idam swayam, this world is you itself, which means when you see the tree, you see the flowers, you see the garden, you see the fruits, you see the wonder in this world, that is you, my Lord. That is giving us a proof. This is your paraphernalia. So this gives a proof of your presence and your mysterious manifestation. So in this way, we understand wherever there is some paraphernalia, wherever there is energy, there must be an energetic. So many times it has happened that we are hearing the Kirtan of Amarendra Prabhu, for example. Amarendra Prabhu left his body in 2010. But we are hearing Amarendra Prabhu's Kirtan, and immediately the mind starts imagining that Amarendra Prabhu is sitting with his very transcendently unique cloth. He's sitting in Krishna Balram Mandir. He has all his associates around, and the temple is going up and down. The pillars are shaking literally in ecstasy. And in Kartik, Amarendra Prabhu is doing Kirtan, and he has his beard and mustache because he's doing his Chaturmas Vrat. And at the same time, it's pitch dark. Everyone is offering their ghee lamp to Radha Damodar, Yashoda Damodar. So just by hearing Amarendra Prabhu's voice, we say, this is Amarendra Prabhu. Actually, this is not Amarendra Prabhu. This is Amarendra Prabhu's energy. This is Amarendra Prabhu's voice. But if someone walks into the room and asks, who is this? You immediately say Amarendra Prabhu. So the voice of Amarendra Prabhu, the tape that is playing, the the speaker that is playing Amarendra Prabhu's Kirtan, we say this is Amarendra Prabhu. Although we know technically this is not Amarendra Prabhu, this is a recording being played of the voice singing of Amarendra Prabhu. And Amarendra Prabhu is the soul. This is the voice of Amarendra Prabhu. But because they remind us so closely of Amarendra Prabhu, we say this is indeed Amarendra Prabhu. If someone says, no, this is, let's say this is someone else, we immediately argue and you say, no, this is Amarendra Prabhu. This is indeed Amarendra Prabhu. Ya idam swayam. So similarly, by hearing somebody's voice, you can relate that this is the person. Similarly, the sound of birds, the sound of waterfalls, the breeze blowing in this world, this is ya idam swayam. Krishna, this is your energy, but this is so closely connected to you that this is actually you. This is indeed your beauty. So this shows that you are present everywhere in a very, very beautiful way. You're present through your energy, and this also proves that you're actually present. We can see how beautifully, let's say you talk about nowadays, I was really thinking and introspecting this point, this because of this complete shutdown of mankind for a month, this is actually doing so much good, because we are cutting down trees at enormous, alarming, unwanted way. We are cutting down trees for making our space, and then amidst those trees are the animals living. So when you cut down those trees and we extend our living space, then when the animals, they are roaming around because it's their home, we shoot them down, thinking that the animal, the bear, is found close to my home. Actually, that is wrong. Sorry, sir, that's not the truth. The bear is not roaming around our house. We have extended ourselves into the house of the bear. So we are cutting down trees. We are cutting down trees for making everything like paper and ultimately every commodity. I remember His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhu saying that in India, when you have to wipe our hands, we use cloth. But in America, we have this paper towel business, and we have toilet paper business. So for everything we tear it. So I am trying to restrict my usage of the paper towel that we keep even in our kitchen, so that we can use as much cloth as possible. So in that way we can save trees. So I was thinking about this because of this shutdown for a month. We are doing so much good to nature. We are, that 1 month, animals are coming out, birds are flying. They are thinking, what is happening? Are we in heaven? Did we do some nice sukriti that we have reached to this place? There is no pollution. The factories are not throwing in their garbage into Yamuna. The skies are all blue. There is no honking. There is no crowd. So in this way, I was thinking, and I was thinking about the concept of trees and then wood. So Krishna is like wood, because Prabhupada, in one quote, he says, it's very interesting. Prabhupada says, our life is like wood. And if we can, it's like a tamal wood, tamal tree. Our life is like a tamal tree. If we can carve out Krishna out of the wood of our life, tamal Krishna, then our life is successful. So similarly, thinking about wood in all of these respects, I was thinking how wood, by nature, it catches fire. You see, it has fire inside. Where is the fire coming from? Little flame from outside, but there's a lot of fire. So there's a lot of fire inside the wood. But at the same time, when the fire is there is also smoke. So that wood represents Krishna. And the fire that is present in that wood is the internal energy, the Antaranga Shakti, the Swarup Shakti, the spiritual energy. But because of this burning, the smoke that comes out is the external energy. So whenever you see a smoke from a distance, you know it is coming because there must be fire. There must be some wood burning. So this material world, which is the external energy, is the smoke. The internal energy, the external energy, this material world is the smoke. The spiritual world, the internal energy, is the fire. And this is ultimately coming because of the wood, which is Krishna. So when you see the smoke in this world, which is the material energy, we should understand it is coming from the wood, which is Sri Krishna. So ya idam swayam, it is you yourself. The wood in itself is manifesting as the smoke. But there is a difference between the fire and the smoke, which comes from the wood. The fire that comes from the wood, you can do so many things. It actually serves. You can cook. But the smoke that comes, it irritates. It makes us cough. So this is a lesson. Krishna is the wood, but the fire that comes out of him, the internal energy, the mercy of Radharani, it always serves and makes us happy. But the smoke that comes out, which is the material energy, it always suffocates. It gives us coughing, which means it gives us some suffering. So ultimately, everything comes from the Supreme Lord. So Yasmin Idam, everything is manifesting in him. Yataha cha idam, it is coming from him. Yena idam, it is done by him. And ya idam swayam, it is actually he himself who is expanding. So through kala, karma, prakriti, etc., you can give so many different examples and meanings, but it is the Supreme Lord himself. And now the fifth statement, Gajendra is saying, Yaha asmat parasmat. Asmat and parasmat basically means they're different actions in this world. Action and reaction. They are all happening by the Supreme Lord. So in this way we can understand through different ways that everything is coming by his mercy. We think about the example of a potter's wheel. You see in villages especially, they make pots, clay pots. And they make different sizes of clay pots. You call them as kumbhar. In Maharashtra, there was a very great saint called Gora Kumbhar. So Kumbhar means a potter. So they make different kinds of pots, clay pots, different sizes. Some are small, some are for drinking just water, like a cup, like a small mud pot to drink water from. One are to store water. Some are like serving vessels. Some are cooking pots, etc. So you have different shapes and sizes, but they're all coming from the same pot, same wheel. You see there is a potter sitting and he has the clay and he keeps moving it around the wheel. And he just keeps giving shapes and different pots, different sizes, in different shapes. Some are even like plates. Some are smaller cups. Some are bigger water pots. Some are cooking vessels like that. So different shapes and different sizes of pots are all manifesting from the wheel. One wheel is manifesting all of this. But behind that wheel, there is also a person. There is a potter, there is a wheel, and from the wheel comes so many pots. So this is actually a very famous example of Prabhupada. This is not my example. Prabhupada in his purports has given this example. If somebody systematically studies Srila Prabhupada's books with focus and attention, all of these examples can be used in our preaching. So many examples are there like that. Prabhupada was such a genius. He was such a master. He was not just a ordinary master. He was a spiritual master of the whole world. So Prabhupada had amazing way of expressing himself. Like his classes, if you see, Prabhupada's classes were not very long. They were only about 30 minutes on an average. Some classes are even 18 minutes, 20, 25 minutes. But in that time period also, Prabhupada knows to explain philosophy. And with philosophy, Prabhupada will give shastric verses. It's almost like a river of verses as proof, as evidence that Prabhupada keeps shooting. And amidst all this philosophy, Prabhupada also has excellent stories. You see, somebody gave me a book, There is a Story, like that. It was the title of the book. And that is filled with all the stories, short stories that Prabhupada has said through his classes. And Prabhupada has inherited this from his worshipable spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who would say so many stories as the Upakhyana Upadesh. So Prabhupada would have short classes, sometimes long classes even. The Nectar of Devotion series in 1972, they're all 1 hour classes. So, and then philosophy also, very hardcore philosophy. There is a very nice book called Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. In fact, His Grace Adi Gadadhar Prabhu was talking to me yesterday about it. And there many beautiful pastimes of Prabhupada are explained. And there one Gaudiya Math sannyasi by the name Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, he explains that his Gurudev, who was the godbrother of Prabhupada, his Gurudev told Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj that you please go and study Bhagavad Gita from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because he is the authority. So among the godbrothers also, it was a known fact that Prabhupada had impeccable command over the Shastra. So Prabhupada explains philosophy and verses and stories. And amidst all of that, Prabhupada has these examples also. Very easy to understand examples. And with that, it's also in a non-compromising spirit. Prabhupada doesn't say anything to impress or please anyone. Naturally, he pleases because he's the speaker of truth. If Prabhupada would have come to make followers, he could have just removed the fourth regulative principle, and the members in ISKCON would have gone 10 times higher, like the other spiritual teachers did during that time. But Prabhupada spoke the truth. He was not a cheater. He was a teacher, as Saraswati Thakur says. So this example Prabhupada gives of so many different clay pots of different shapes and sizes coming from the same wheel, but that wheel is being moved by a potter. So Prabhupada explains similarly all the different clay pots that we are using in the example. They're all the different bodies that are found in this world. Some are having monkey bodies, some are having donkey bodies, and some are having bird bodies. Even in the bird bodies, there are sparrows, there are pigeons, there are crows, there are cuckoos, etc. And there also there are subspecies. So these are all like different shapes and sizes and colors of pots, but they're all ultimately coming from a wheel, and that wheel is Prakriti. But the person who is moving, the potter, that is the Virata Purusha, the universal form. And the universal form, his lotus feet is in Patal and his head is on top of Brahmalok. So through 14 planetary systems that Virata Purusha is standing. So that is the form that Krishna showed Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna was completely awestruck by the potency of Sri Hari. So in this way, Yaha Asmat Parasmat, all the happenings that are seen in this world, which appear to be like pots, clay pots, they're all coming from the wheel of material nature, Prakriti. But it is being moved by the potter, who is the Virata Purusha. So therefore, Yaha Asmat Parasmat, all the causes and effects, the happenings and the reactions, they're all happening in the body of the Virata Purusha. You see, in our body also, every second there are chemical reactions going on in the body. Externally speaking, our body remains steady, but inside there are constant chemical reactions going on. Just like we see when we look at the flame of fire, we see there is, let's say, we light a lamp for Krishna, and we see the flame of that fire closely. Constantly we see chatpat, chatpat, chatpat. There are reactions going on, and there's some fluttering sound also. But externally from a distance, if you see, it's in the shape of a teardrop. The flame is in the shape of a teardrop, which is steady. But inside constantly there are reactions. Similarly, our body externally seems to be in a proper steady shape, but inside there are chemical reactions constantly going on. So the origin of this is the body of the Virata Purusha. In the body of the universal form, which is completely widespread, every reaction that is happening in this world, cause and effect that is happening. You do something and something happens. You move something and then there is a reaction ahead. So all of this are like the wonderful reactions in the body of the Virata Purusha. But Gajendra doesn't stop there with the fifth, Yaha Asmat Parasmat. He says, Cha Paraha, my Lord, you are even transcendental beyond that point. Why? Because the Virata Purusha is the universal form, but beyond that, there is a source to the Virata Rupa, which is Krishna playing in Goloka, playing his flute and running behind cows. So, Paraha means higher. So, my Lord, Yasmin Idam, everything is resting on you. Krishna also says this, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinjid Asti Dhananjaya, Mai Sarvam Idam Protam Sutre Manigana Iva. That in this world you see a pearl necklace and everyone is running behind the pearl necklace. But we may see that the pearl necklace seems to be very, very attractive. But what is keeping the pearls together is an invisible thread going through that necklace. That's the most important thing in the necklace. Because if that thread is missing, then all the pearls are down. There is no necklace, there is no beauty. So what is keeping all the pearls together in a necklace is an invisible thread. Although it is the backbone for this necklace and the beauty everybody is getting attracted is to the necklace. But what is keeping them together is the thread, and that is not seen, without which everything will fall apart. So Krishna says similarly, the attractive pearls of this world, they're all put together in a very artistic way as a necklace by the invisible thread of my potency going through it. Yad yad vibhuti matsatvam shrimad urjitam evava tattat evava gachatvam mama tejamsha sambhava. Krishna says, it is my potency which is going. It is my invisible thread-like potency which is going through the necklace of this material world, which is giving the backbone support to this world. Yet people are attracted by the world and they don't see the thread without which the pearls will fall to the spot. So Yasmin idam, everything rests on him. Yataha cha idam, everything comes from him. Yena idam, it is done by him. Yaha idam swayam, it is he himself. Similarly, yaha asmat parasmat, all the actions, reactions, cause and effect are coming from him or happening by his potency, and that is the Virat Rupa. But he himself, cha paraha, he is transcendental. He is not locked up in this Virat Rupa. That is just one potency. Virat Rupa is just the outer Brahman potency of his personality. But he is actually busy stealing butter in Goloka Vrindavan. Cha paraha. So Krishna has a very nice name, very nice phrase that Gajendra uses ahead in his stuti. He calls Krishna Parat Paraha. Parat Paraha means, para means transcendental, Parat, para means transcendental, but Parat Paraha means he who is transcendental to transcendental. What does that mean? You see, the great acharyas in this world, they are transcendental. They are not conditioned, they are transcendental. But Krishna is more, he's transcendental even to them, that they are saying, this is all that we can describe about him. No one can understand him completely. Even Anantadev, who is Krishna's expansion himself, millions and millions of hoods, for time immemorial, he is describing through all his hoods and mouth, but he is not able to come to a complete conclusion of his glorification, because Krishna's glorifications are unlimited. Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. Krishna is unlimited. His glories are unlimited. So similarly, the acharyas, they are transcendental, but Krishna is transcendental even to them. Parat Paraha. What to speak of transcendental to the acharyas? The incarnations of the Supreme Lord, like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, etc., they also cannot understand the pastimes of Krishna with Srimati Radharani in the groves of Vrindavan. So Krishna with Srimati Radharani is transcendental even to the incarnations of Krishna. So this is his position. So all of these moods are put together in this one phrase, Cha Paraha. My Lord, you are transcendental. And the way we can understand this, the example that we can understand this with is, let's say we talk about Microsoft, or we talk about Apple, or we talk about Facebook. We talk about one of these places. Let's say you talk about Bill Gates, or you talk about Tim Cook, or you talk about Mark Zuckerberg. Any of these personalities with their own corporation. So when you enter their corporation, you'll see them everywhere, which means in the form of their quotations, in the form of their mission statement, in the form of their goal and vision and mission for the company. So they're present everywhere through their instructions, through their guidelines, through their aims and goals. So this is the Brahman effulgence. God is present everywhere through his potency, like that. But then when you go further inside, you see that every employee, he may have a personal ID. And there, when he swipes in and he puts in his login into his laptop, sometimes he may have personal sessions with Bill Gates or with Tim Cook or whoever. Like maybe it's a recorded video, but he has a personal message for himself. Or let's say even more relatable example, when you take flights and you're flying through, let's say, Virgin Atlantic. You're flying with Virgin Atlantic. So you sit in Virgin Atlantic flight. You have to fly through UK, let's say, go to India. And as you sit in, you have Richard Branson, the CEO, coming on the screen and giving you all the different points, the ideas that he has for the company, and how you have made the best choice by picking Virgin Atlantic, and how Virgin Atlantic picks its employees over anything else, etc., etc. So at that time, it seems like a personalized screen where the CEO is speaking to you. So this is Paramatma realization. Brahman is where his mission statement is present throughout Virgin Atlantic. But this is very specifically the Paramatma realization, where every jiva has one-to-one interaction with the Supreme Lord. While actually Bill Gates or Richard Branson or Mark Zuckerberg or Tim Cook, they may probably be in the Alps. They may probably be skiing somewhere. So that is the Bhagavan realization, where the actual personality is busy running behind cows and playing his flute. So his potency is found in this world in the form of Brahma Jyoti. At the same time, he's present as Paramatma for the Jivas, which is even more intimate. But ultimately, he, in his original form, is in the lap of Mother Yashoda, hearing bedtime stories. So, yaha asmat parasmat, because of his potency, reactions are happening here. But cha paraha, ultimately, he who's the origin, he is busy in his original abode. He is transcendental to his creation even. And therefore, the seventh point is tam prapadhe, my Lord, to that Supreme Lord, I take complete shelter and I surrender wholeheartedly. And he says, Swayam Bhuvam. The reason I'm talking to you, my Lord, is you are manifest on your own and there is no cause which causes you. No one forces you. No one keeps you on a gunpoint of karma or kala or astrological positions. None of this, my Lord. You are free to do whatever you want. Ramachandra, he opens the books and he sees dharma and he walks according to dharma. But Krishna, he walks and he tells the authors, now you write this as dharma. So he's completely independent. Ramachandra is Maryada Purushottam. He walks according to rules and Maryada. But Krishna takes the ball of Maryada and kicks it far away. And he does whatever he wants because he's Bhagavan. Swayam Bhuvam. No one forces him. No, he doesn't have to follow any rules. The rules are meant for us so that we behave according to dharma. But he is parat paraha. He is transcendental. And therefore, he doesn't need any rules. He doesn't need any binding. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is called Swayam Bhuvam. We come from our parents. But all the parents ultimately come from Krishna. But Krishna does not come from anyone. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna. What a gift Prabhupada has given in the form of the Gita. All these verses are like a torchlight which can open up so many boxes of newer and newer meanings in our heart, kicking away the darkness of avidya. So Krishna is saying, Aja api, I am unborn. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san. I am the ultimate master of everything. And prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. I appear through my own atma maya. So externally it seems that Mother Devaki is giving birth to Krishna or Mother Yashoda is giving birth to Krishna. But they are all internal energy. They are atma maya of Krishna. They are appearing from the potency of the Supreme Lord. They are the internal potency. And Krishna is the supremely, independently, expert potent, filled with all energy. So he is Swayam Bhuvam. He doesn't depend on anyone. So having said that, this was the analysis of the third verse from this chapter, the 8th chapter, which is the second verse of Gajendra Stuti. I really want to thank all the devotees for surviving through such a philosophical class. Because generally it's easier to be awake during stories, but it's very difficult to gulp down philosophy down our throat. So really thank you for all the devotees for participating and being constant and steady in your daily attendance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tomorrow there is a slight change in time. Tomorrow we go 1 hour late. We go from 8 to 9 Eastern time. So till today we were from 7 to 8. Eastern time, but tomorrow, which is Saturday, the 28th of March, we go from 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. So devotees in India also get another 1 hour of extra sleep, I think, because they are hearing early in the morning, but they can log in an hour later. And all the other devotees from different time zones, please kindly calculate and let's meet 1 hour late compared to our timings today. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Let us meet tomorrow with a changed time, but the same place. We meet over Facebook Live, and let us all participate and spread each other and inspire each other by spreading auspiciousness and attentive focus and faith in hearing these beautiful, wonderful, deep, profound, heart-wrenching prayers of Gajendra, which are philosophically deep and at the same time emotionally so heart-wrenching. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।